I've gotten a better understanding of the meta in Arknight's Endfield throughout like the last month or so of us playing the game. And so I kind of want to give an updated tier list, not only from how my thoughts have changed before, but also it'll keep in mind the new changes with Umbral Monument and how the meta is shifted with that as well. I'm going to speak specifically about what the characters do, what teams that they pair with as well when I talk about them, and then also what makes them good or bad. You know what? I'm going to start off with a spicy one. And I've had a major 180 about this. I'm actually going to talk in depth about why. I'm going to give Arclight a C tier. So if you watch my last tier list, I was a bit of a dumbass and I said Arclight was an A tier character. The reason for that is because in the electric team, if you're not running Gilberta specifically, Arclight is the one who consumes your electric infliction, give you the extra buffs from the electrification. Otherwise, you have no way of actually consuming it. That said, best renditions of the electric teams run Gilberta instead. Because of that, Arclight actually gains negative value. In fact, she has negative synergy with Gilberta specifically. Because you want Gilberta to be the one consuming the electric infliction from Perlica's generation, Arclight's ultimate gains no value from the electrification, and you're just getting that value from Perlica's combo skill anyway. So the only benefit of having Arclight in that comp comes from her SP regeneration. But you can just run Akekuri and have more buffs instead. There's literally no point of you running Arclight in that team. So I think I just have to give her a C tier. I undervalued how strong Gilberta would be in that team and just how much she brings. And I also undervalued how bad Arclight would be in that team. After having played around with it a lot, that team being by far my most played now, literally beating everything with it, getting trim medals, all that stuff, Arclight is just not the character. I'm gonna give Chen a solid B tier. So the main strength of Chen is that her combo skill will apply vulnerability to the enemies, and that won't be tied to SP generation, meaning you get the extra generation for physical team. Characters like Ember can also do that, while also having survivability for your team. So if you need healing in your teams, then Chen kind of loses some value there because her slot is kind of replaceable in that regard. The other value from Chen comes from her ability to help you reach stagger breakpoints faster, which for physical teams specifically are pretty good because physical gear has stagger damage bonus. When we look at physical teams, Chen is probably just the most replaceable because assuming you want like the best team, you want Crush and then Pog for SP generation, right? Doesn't to say Chen is bad. She's still a decent character, but she's by no means necessary, and out of all the physical characters in that team, she's the most replaceable. This one might be a little bit of a hot take. I'm gonna go A tier for Perlica. The reason for that is Perlica is not only one of the strong characters inside of electric teams with Avywenna, right? She's part of the two core there. On top of that, Perlica is also able to go outside of electric teams too. She can pair with Last Rite to make Last Rite's best in slot in single target situations with Last Rite, Perlica, Xaihi, and Ardelia, or she can pair in Yvonne teams, same exact thing, you just have Yvonne in there. That combo works as well. That's because electrification works as just a general arts damage buff for every character that does arts damage in the game. So, because she applies it universally on her combo skill, Perlica actually has value as a generalist support for all those teams. Plus, as a support, if you look at her damage numbers, she actually does decent damage compared to characters like Arclight. Like, I believe in the electric team, she's doing like 5% of the team's damage. That's not bad as a support when our characters like Art are doing 5%. Also, she can run Stanza, and Stanza is OP. Another A tier support. I feel like Xaihi's gonna be a character that ages really well because she has a stupid amount of amp on her kit. Her skill itself gives 15% without even having her potentials, which gives another 5%. And then her ultimate gives, I think 30, is it 33 or 36 at base? Assuming you have capped out intellect. Plus you get even more from her P5 if you have that. She has a shit ton of amp. You can run external Shimmerite with that. And she has cryo infliction from her own skill. On top of that, both of those amps can apply to both cryo and nature characters. So if we get a nature DPS that can make use of the cryo infliction from Xaihi, for example, you're going to have stonks there. That said, in the current state of the game, Xaihi does extremely well with Last Rite, that being one of the best teams for single target constants in the game, and she does well with Yvonne, same exact note as Last Rite. Let's go with the coldest take of all time. Let's put Ardelia in the S tier. I think most people know Ardelia is just the most universal support in the game. She buffs both arts and physical susceptibility. Everyone gets her for free. You get her signature for free. Her combo skill is pretty universal to proc. All you need is no arts, infliction, or vulnerability on the enemy. So you can just do it at the start of any rotation and you're perfectly fine there. She also has healing for game modes like Umbral. If you have her, I believe it's one of her talents too. She'll use her skill twice. You get even more healing from that. Ardelia, especially as a free character, I don't know why they gave her for free. She's crazy right now. She's stupid strong. She goes well with Laevatain. You can throw her in like physical comp. She does well. You can throw her in cryo comp. She does well. Well, she does well in like every comp in the game currently. I will say, and this may be a hot take, take. I fully expect her to fall off in the future. But for now, she's very strong. Japan. We're going B tier with Japan. From what I've seen, the Endmin variants of physical are actually outperforming post the nerfs of Japan. During the beta pre-nerfs, Japan was outperforming Endmin. But from the calcs I've seen recently, Endmin outperforms. That doesn't mean Japan is a weak character. It just means you have someone that performs your role better. You're a B tier character, bro. Next up, let's do Alesh. Dude, one day they'll add solidification support for Alesh, and I will actually unironically be able to run this character. I mean, the physical or like physical solidification teams with like Endmin, Alesh, Estella aren't that bad. They're not like terrible, but they get outperformed by actual physical, like the standard physical team. So outside of fun capabilities, there's not really too much of a point of actually running it. I just realized I have 2 Vanguards down over here in C. That's crazy. Let's do Antal. Antal, I think, is a character that's a little bit overrated. I think people like lays him up more than they should. When 95% of the time that you're playing the game on like Laevatain teams or Avywenna teams, you don't even want to really be running Antal, like open world scenarios, like an Umbral. It's the case that Antal technically does more damage in single target scenarios, right? In both Avywenna teams and Laevatain teams, his single target damage is higher than that of just running, say, Akekuri, for example, right? And obviously he's a strong character, but I do think he's a little bit overglazed right now. He's still an A tier character. He's still very strong. He is still technically the highest single target for the strongest team in the game currently with Laevatain, and he's still technically the highest single target for Avywenna as well. That said, when we have other types of content in the game, AoE content, when most people in the game are doing overworld based content as well, he's a little bit too glazed, and I feel like most people would have an easier time if they just slotted in Akekuri in that slot instead of running Antal there. Speaking of which, let's do Akekuri, the goat over here. If you saw my last list, I think I rated her at like A. I changed my mind. I think Akekuri is an S tier character. 2 reasons for that. 3 reasons for that. First of all, 1, in Umbral Monument, she's gonna outperform the Antal comps, right? So in Umbral Monument, when you're playing with like Laevatain or you're playing with Avywenna, she's gonna be better there, right? And those are probably the 2 best teams for clearing those game modes super easily right now. So Akekuri is super strong there. She's also stupidly universal. And while it is true that she does not do as much single target damage as Antal for comps like Laevatain or comps like Avywenna, she's more flexible. She's pretty damn close to it. She's also outperforming in AoE based game modes. I think Akekuri is a pretty solid deserving of S tier. I think I did put her in A tier before in the last tier list. I think it's solid to put her in S tier. Let it be known that the tier lists are not ordered. I don't want to go through the hassle of ordering them. This doesn't mean like Antal is like worse than these guys. In fact, arguably he's probably, yeah, arguably he's stronger than these guys. Ling Yong? You want Ling Yong? Now let's go with another S tier. Laevatain, we all know, the best DPS in the game. Disgustingly strong for single target, even more broken for AoE content as well. We all know Umbral Monument. In Umbral Monument, she's dummy strong. In going for trim medals, she's also dummy strong. She's dummy strong for overworld content. No matter the type of content you're doing right now in the game, Laevatain is just the best. She's the goat of all time. Also, she has the best story quest in the game. I don't think that gets points on this tier list, but it gets points in my heart. I'm just gonna do this. We already know where he's going. Catcher goes D tier. Here's what I'm gonna say. In Umbral Monument, Catcher's actually not that bad, specifically because the only thing you need to do in Umbral Monument is live. So anyone who has sustain for you, including Catcher, is actually a legitimate use case there. That said, any other sustain in the game is better for you in that case, right? Like Ember literally does his job but better, but you can use him and he's like actually a solid option. If you want someone to help you and you have nothing else, all right, dude, I'm coping. You literally have every character, everyone has Ardelia for free on your account. I'm coping, bro. Do last right next. I'll do last right next. All right, last right. I'm gonna be honest. Her single target burst capabilities are disgustingly strong. And we all know that, right? There's even clips out there of her literally one-tapping bosses. Granted, that's with full potentials. That's with her weapon, her signature maxed out. But in theory, if you have turbo broken gear, you can literally one-tap bosses. That said, you go bring her with normal gear, without that stuff, without P5, without the turbo maxed out signature, and then you go try to bring her into any AoE content, then you go try to bring her into open world, you go bring her into any of that stuff. You can argue just to offer single target capabilities alone, she can be S tier. And if that's the argument you want to make, I guess you can say that, especially when single target content in the game is harder. That said, I think for most players experience playing this game, including open world, including doing Umbral Monument, and then including doing the bosses as well, I would say Last Rite is an A tier character. She does strong damage, but she's also clunky as hell. She's gonna base tank a fuckload as you're doing stuff. You're gonna die a lot as you're learning her. In terms of her single target damage, she's an S tier character. In AoE game modes, she falls off a fucking cliff because her only AoE is from her ultimate. On top of that, in AoE based game modes, she's constantly getting interrupted and you don't even get to like really play on her. You just go swap to your other characters and do whatever, right? And then she loses value there. I think we're going A tier. This is the one I'm probably most conflicted on because I don't know if Pog should go in A or S. Technically, physical teams are very strong and they can be good in both AoE and single target. That said, they're not the best. They're both outclassed by the Laevatain variants of them. Laevatain outperforms in both single target and especially so in AoE, and they're not even that amazing in AoE. Out of all the physical units though, I mean, it's pretty obvious Pog is just the best physical unit. It's just a question of, does he deserve S tier or does he deserve to be top of A? The thing is though, and I didn't have this opinion before, I used to think Akekuri as a character better than Pog, but when you look at the reality of Akekuri teams and just not only how versatile she is, but the fact that she's actually outperforming the Pog teams when you go with like Laevatain, right? And then just how much value she provides to those teams. Pog in a way is kind of outclassed by Akekuri currently, just due to the state of characters. Maybe you can argue he's like a worse character than Akekuri, but still deserves S tier. Maybe it's just top of A. I'll probably come back to this one later, but I'm thinking top of A. Physical teams just don't perform to all the way up here, and then he's chained to physical teams as well. That said, physical teams are obviously strong in both types of content. If you're going for trim metals, obviously dummy strong. If you're going for Umbral, it's pretty decent as well, especially since you have two ways of being able to get the survivability, both with Ardelia and with Ember. I'll come back to Pog, because I'm not 100% sure. He's either going to be bottom S or top A. So here's the thing with Ember. I think I've changed my mind on Ember. After seeing like some of the parses with her and also seeing her teams, I think she can be bottom of A tier right now. I think Ember is a bottom of A tier character. That said, in terms of value, you get Ardelia for free. You don't get value for getting Ember, but Ember herself is not a bad character. You already have a sustain with Ardelia, but Ember is not bad. And yes, for like the newest Umbral Monument and stuff like that, Ember's obviously great there. Once again though, you get Ardelia for free. So like using your selector on Ember is a little bit cooked. If you were to transport into the game and you have no characters whatsoever and you just get an Ember and you have like the physical team, that's a good team. So I actually think with Umbral, the Avywenna stonks went up a little bit, plus more optimizations being found in terms of combos. I'm gonna put Avywenna in A tier as well. Remember the tier lists aren't ordered, by the way. I'm not gonna bother ordering. I think Avywenna is also an A tier character. In the previous tier list, I had her in B, specifically because she does not perform as high in terms of DPS as like the physical and the cryo teams, right? And those are obviously worse than the heat space team, aka Laevatain. Here's the thing about Avywenna though, and we saw this inside of Umbral. You have the ability to pre-stack spears before you get to like the difficult parts of content. If you watch my Umbral Monument video that we just put out, in there, my Avywenna was pre-stacking spears before we got to the worm phase on the second Umbral. Then what we did is I pulled all the spears through the second it came in. We put the Gilberta ultimate down. We pulled out the spears. It one-shot the worms. I didn't even have to deal with the difficult part of the fight. She has the ability to trivialize content in a way that is unique to her because she can preload her damage by constantly stacking spears before you even get to the hard parts of fights right now. If I had Akekuri there instead of Arclight as well, I would have literally one-shot, I think, all of the worms there. I think Avywenna, I mean, you can just go ahead and go watch that video if you want to see why Avywenna is strong. Avywenna is a really strong character. And I've changed my mind on her a little bit. I believe in the last tier list I put her in B, but I think she's definitely an A tier character. Let's do Gilberta, everyone's favorite. We all know Gilberta has issues. She can't pair with the last rate, the crowd favorite, right? She can't pair in physical teams like Ardelia, right? So Ardelia gaps are there. She has more versatility. Gilberta kind of also has some issues depending on the rotations. During Umbral, I was actually able to use Gilberta with Laevatain specifically. Once again, you can check out the Umbral video for that. But there's like specific rotations you can do in there if you have her ultimate that you can actually keep inflicting the stacks and getting your ults before the grouping from her battle skill proc. So it just helps with like the AoE and pulling all the members together. So you technically can do that. That being said, she does work extremely well with the electric, right? She helps the electric team a lot. I think with Umbral being out, plus the burst susceptibility, plus Avywenna being a pretty strong character, I'm actually going to put Gilberta in S. Any AoE based content, Gilberta is going to be a monster in. I fully expect, and I'm going to stand on business here, and I want everyone to clip this. I think out of all the characters we have in the roster right now, Gilberta will be the best aging. I think she will be the best aging character out of every character we have available right now. Her burst susceptibility in a game where we're playing around stagger windows is crazy. Being able to apply up to a 42% when everyone is trying to load their damage into that specific time. So the actual only 5-second duration of her field being her main drawback just completely doesn't matter is crazy. The second we get a nature DPS for her, she's going to pop the fuck off. I think she will legitimately be the best agent character we have right now. Today is not the day that I rage bait every Flourite main. All right, we will put Flourite in the C tier. She's simultaneously a character who gives stacks, right? And so people will run her in teams like Rite or Yvonne because she's a stack infliction character. But as a stack infliction character, she's not providing any buffs to the team. We don't have like a stanza, for example, with guns, right? So that sucks. We don't have like proper buffing sets in her base kit either. Her potentials don't give her any buffs like they do with Akekuri or Xaihi or any of that. The character is literally only there for stack inflict or for the either nature or cryo stacks, the inflictions from her combo and her ultimate, and that is literally all she does. As a character who only exists to apply infliction, that is terrible. That said, that is something that both Yvonne and Laevatain can technically make some use of, so she does get a little bit of value. Technically not terrible. Like she's good in those teams. The best renditions of those teams though don't even run Flourite, despite her being the only other real applicator besides like Laevatain and Xaihi. The best renditions of those teams, from what I've seen, run Perlica instead. Yeah, on the bright side, she's not the worst character in the game. Let's do Wulfgard. Do I want to do low B or high A? So here's the thing about Wulfgard. Wulfgard is a stack applicator just like Flourite. The difference is, unlike Flourite, he has better stack application. His ultimate applies combustion. His ultimate also resets his combo skill. His combo skill applying a stack of infliction as well, plus his battle skill applying the infliction too. On top of that, he also gives SP refund, and he actually has buffs, unlike Flourite. So he can provide with buffs, does more damage. Laevatain's team is the best team in the game, and he is best in slot for that team. He probably just goes A tier because of that. Being a character who actually has infliction and has buffs and does decent damage as a sub DPS, probably just A tier character. So Estella actually, for a 4-star especially, Estella actually has a pretty decent kit. Like she has a good amount of stuff in her kit. She has good susceptibility, she has synergy with like solidification and whatnot. She applies like vulnerability stacks and all that stuff. And so her kit itself is actually pretty decent. I wouldn't be surprised if we get solidification support in the future that she becomes like a legitimately decent character. That said, solidification just isn't that strong of a team right now compared to the other actually good teams. So Estella's just not performing at the same tier as the other characters. She's just a C tier character. I do think in the future, if we get a solidification based team that is legitimately strong, she'll perform pretty decently in it. Let's do Lifeng first. Is this the most A tier copium don't piss out anyone tier list you've ever seen in your life? I mean, all right, to be fair, it's the start of a game. A lot of characters are going to be pretty decent. As you get more characters are going to get crunched down as power creep happens. Lifeng is just in the best in slot renditions of all the physical teams, right? He has good stack generation, right? His ultimate applies it. He does a fuckload of damage. For those who don't know, actually, his ultimate has a 1.4,000% multiplier. 1.4,000% multiplier on his ultimate, assuming you have the link from his combo skill. He applies that link to himself from the combo skill. On top of that, in physical teams, he also applies physical susceptibility when he uses skill. He's also a stack generator. Also has, well, the way you gear him is that you gear him for bonus stagger damage as well. So he just pops off during stagger windows too. The Fong is very strong. I have this guy P1 actually. I was kind of pissed when I first got it, but after being able to take a step back, realizing like just how strong Lifeng C1 is and the fact that in the future this is actually gonna be pretty good, I'm a little bit chill. This thing kind of broken. We're gonna go with Snowshine. Specifically only because of Umbral's existence am I gonna put Snowshine in B tier. If Umbral did not exist, Snowshine would be in C. But because of Umbral's existence, because of her ability to go with both either Yvonne or Rite, and her being pretty decent there and being usable in Umbral for those teams, while yes, you do have Ardelia, you can have issues using her battle skill in those teams. Snowshine gets a nice B tier for being nice and comfy for those teams. All right, Endmin, A-. Pretty interchangeable with Japan in terms of stuff. As far as I've seen though, the Endmin teams do outperform the Japan team ever since the nerfs, but they are kind of interchangeable. So I'm gonna put Endmin in A-. Actually, you could argue A. I think you could argue A. Am I gonna put it in A? No, I'm putting Endmin A-. Last up, Yvonne. Here's the problem with Yvonne. I don't know if it's because she doesn't have her signature weapon right now or what. Every Yvonne clear I've seen has just been worse than last Rite clears. It's just been worse renditions of currently already existing teams in the game. I'm not sure if it's because people don't have their signature weapons currently. Calcs of Yvonne, and this could be because they're not playing them optimally, are also pretty cooked. I've seen calcs of Yvonne that have her under physical team. I don't know how accurate they are because I don't think anyone has done calcing Yvonne yet, but preliminary tests of the Yvonne changes have her not performing very well. Yvonne's definitely the character I'm the least sure of though. There's too few people that own her, but that could just be because we don't have her signature and because people don't actually understand how to play Yvonne currently. So it could be the case that as people optimize rotations, like they did with Avywenna and like they did with Pog teams and like they did with last Rite teams, she becomes better. It could also be the case that once she gets her signature, she starts performing much better. But currently, without her signature, current state of the game, she's not performing to the same tier as the other team. That's my tier list. Overall tier list for the game. Trying to keep into account both going for trim metals and also going for Umbral. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that banger stuff. Check out whatever videos over there.